Dana, tell us about you. Who are you, ma'am?
Oh gosh. So I'm Dana Burns. I've been an agent for 23 years. I'm a mom. I'm a sister. I'm a wife. Probably should have said with that. Most of all, I'm a Christian, and I just love working here.
All right. So, how'd you get started in real estate?
Yeah, so I thought I wanted to be an attorney, and I worked in an attorney's office, and I kept typing checks thinking that, man, real estate agents make a killing. And of course, I didn't realize that there's splits and, the different fees and all those things, but went at age 20 and got my license, started selling cabins in North Georgia, and never looked back.
So, you started in Blue Ridge,
That's right. That's
right?
my hometown. Yes, Fannin County.
There we go. What's your business like now? Let's start with present day. What does it look
Yeah,
like
so
for you?
today I am a solo agent for the last 3 years here at Keller Williams. I've been here 14 years now
Okay.
at this office, and love it. I love Keller Williams and all the things. Let's see, my biggest year as an individual agent, I did 18 million. I'm not sure, this is terrible. You should track your numbers better than this, but I know I did 36 units last year. My goal was 40, so it's a little shy. This year it's 50.
Okay.
And I've recently just made my first hire, full-time business coordinator. So that's kind of where I'm headed. I don't know if I'll grow a team one day. I used to always say no, but now I'm saying I'm open, Lord. So just however that kind of goes. But right now I'm following this wonderful book that you all need to read, the MREA, and it says at my point in my career, I need somebody to help me full time.
So, when you got started, you came in as a solo agent in Blue Ridge, right?
That's
When you very
right.
first
And then I
started.
built a team.
Okay.
And I had a team there with about 20 agents. And
Oh, wow.
then,
I didn't realize you
yeah,
had that many
I
when you
went
was
through,
rolling in there.
yeah. And then ended up meeting my husband, who was the father of my ex-husband now, father of my children, and he was in real estate, had some cabins to flip. That's how we met. He had a business running out of Atlanta and a lake house. I was in Blue Ridge, and we felt like Gainesville would be a middle spot. So
Okay.
that's how I got to Hall County. When I was like 8 months pregnant with my first son, at his recommendation, and it was a good one, I got my broker's license. I owned my own little company for 3 years that I was the broker of. I had another son in that time, and we flipped houses also during that time and bought some land deals, different things. During that time, a recession came. My first son was born in 2007, and my second son in 2010. So by the end of 2010, I needed to go back to work and help put some shoes on those babies' feet, as we say.
Yep.
And Bev Knight came to list our lake home that we were about to lose. We ended up turning our keys back over to the bank, doing a deed in lieu of, and then began the trek of just starting over and rebuilding a business and all those kind of things. So,
Wow.
yeah.
So, what was, when you were very first getting started, building your business and everything, what was like the thing that you came into this and was like, this is what I have to do? What was the number one thing that helped you to kind of launch and get up and
I
going?
really think the thing that I felt like I had to do, and in those days, people nobody had a website. I was one of the first people in Blue Ridge to have a website. But I do think that translates now to like a strong social media game. That's something and also during my sales career has taken off. So I would say now would be where I would start. But the thing that remains the same from 20 years ago till now that I knew is that I needed to build relationships and be around people who were doing what I wanted to do. And learn from them. So I was so lucky. God put me in a cubicle right next to the top seller, and I would listen to everything she said. I would beg her to let me go, just sit in the back of the car, and I would listen, and I just memorized everything she said, and then I said it, and that worked for me. I know that's simple, but that's what worked for me.
No, that's great. I mean, they always say you're the sum of the people you spend the most time around, right?
That's
So
true.
that's a big part of it
Yeah.
on there. Is there anything that you would have done differently looking back when you were starting your business? Are there big changes that you would have made going into it?
I feel like everything is a learning experience. So I want to say no, there's probably not things that I would do different because then I wouldn't be the Dana that I am today and to
Very
the
true.
point that I am today. Are there some things I could have done better? Absolutely. The number one thing I wish I had done is really build my database. I really didn't start building my database until about 5 years ago. I didn't keep up with people. I just didn't work it at all. That's, now to be the point I am now where that's like a pretty strong part of my business. It sounds embarrassing to say that, but that's the truth. So when you're starting out, you have this opportunity now, and we didn't even have a CRM. And we did here at Keller Williams. I didn't know of anybody using a CRM
Yeah.
20 years ago. I'm sure there were some great agents who were. I just was not one of them. But that is definitely the main thing that I would tap into now that I wish I had done sooner is build that, build my command out with my contacts and really stay in touch with them.
What does that look like now for
So
you? Like when you
now,
say building your database,
yeah,
what
yeah.
does
So I'm
Dana
still
do?
building it. I have like 3,000 contacts. The biggest thing that I do that makes, I think, a pretty good impact is my monthly newsletter. It is not a template. That's not true. I mean, it's a template in that we built out that, I'm going to have a spot on the lake each month, something about downtown. So I repeat what I'm going to talk about each month, but it truly comes from my heart. And I have people say, I can tell that, or I can, there are people
Yeah.
following along and things. And, but that is, to me, one of the easiest things to get started to touch your people. I do quarterly mailers. I do at least 2 events a year, nothing expensive for me. I do like a coffee meetup for past clients, and I do an ice cream social. So those aren't like break the bank, but they work well for me. And even if people don't come, they just feel thankful to be invited, to get to have community with people and such. So
Absolutely.
that's what it looks like for me.
I love your newsletter personally. So
Oh, thank
I'm
you.
not just saying that because this is being recorded right here, but Dana's newsletter, y'all, like it's actually a value piece. I mean, like I get stuff out
Thank
of it
you.
when I pull it up and it's just like, here's what's happening in Gainesville. Here's what's going on in the community. So when you approach it like that, it's not just like sales. Normally the first thing you have on there isn't really about sales most of the time. I think you
It's
have
like
like your
an
letter.
introduction. Yeah.
Right, yeah. So there's a lot of stuff that's built into it to bring in value more so than just like, here's my listings, here's how I can help you buy. There's a lot more that goes into it. So if that's something that you guys are ever interested in, that Dana's is
Yeah.
one that, and I'm sure you'd be happy for people to subscribe
Oh,
to it to
please.
see
Yeah.
what they
Lots of
get.
agents subscribe to
Yeah.
it. And I get other agents' newsletters, and I like to read them just to
Yeah.
see what they're doing too.
Absolutely. So I think that's a real value. And y'all do that through MailChimp,
We do,
right? Is how
yes,
y'all
through
use it.
MailChimp.
So Command, of course, has options where you can do a newsletter through that. But if you're looking to do something more custom, kind of like Dana's vibe that she's got going, you may have to explore something outside of that on there. I guess a kind of good follow-up question to that is what's your expenses in your business look like, and what's like the most valuable thing that you get right now or that you pay for on there? Because I know a lot of times when agents are starting out, we always want to try to help keep everybody's expenses as low as possible on there, but there are some things where it's like it's worth the bang for your buck on
Yeah.
there.
For me, it's website. I was taught that in the beginning. That's worked for me for a long time. I think it's a great place to put money and build that out. But it's not just the website, it's SEO as well. So look into that. Either get some education on that or get some people who know. I would say number 2 for me spending is social media.
Okay.
This year I'm committed. I use Joseph Buffington, does all of my videos. He has a new package out where you pay, it's like an extra $100 and you get a reel. I just did one with my Moke that got like the most engagement that I think one of the highest ones I've ever got. I also work with Kaylee Shawley. That's a monthly expense. She does reels. She helps me. I'm working on another personal branding website currently and building out some courses and different things, and she's helping me with that. So, but when I first started as a solo agent, the first thing I said was, I know I have to have a website and it has to be good. And so I put my money into that. Now, after taking a class this week, I'm learning that I better get my the voice right. Like when people say, "Hey, give me the number one." Hey Siri, give me the number
Yeah.
one agent in Gainesville. So I gotta up my game on that, right? So I have to learn that and talk to my people about that. So there's always something to
Right.
spend it on. I spend money on mailings. You know what? Turns out I spend a lot of money.
Well,
But you don't have to. I
Right.
do think just listed and it's grown along the way.
Yeah.
I'm taking profit that I'm making and putting it back into my business. Another really good thing is a just listed and just sold. Do it, do it, do it. I use corefact.com. I used to
For postcards,
For
is that-
postcards.
yeah.
I used to print that all out myself, do labels, all this jazz. No, thank you. It is so much more affordable. They can help you pull the list and those kind of things. So that is something I would not miss that opportunity.
Okay.
And if you can't do that, okay, print it on Canva, put it in the mailbox. I don't know, but you let
Just
that
don't
neighborhood
touch the
know.
mailbox.
Oh, don't touch
We
the
just
mailbox.
talked about
I'm
that
sorry.
with Anna.
Sorry.
While we on here, peeps. I'm not going to say who because they may or may not be listening in on this. Don't be touching the mailboxes when you go out there to do all that.
I know.
LOL. That was a good learning experience,
Okay,
though,
sorry.
Brianna.
Don't
We all
touch
got
the
better.
mailbox.
So you can drop them off on the porch. Just don't be touching the mailboxes.
Oh,
But-
okay. I love. Well, speaking of porches, I do love the website I think it's marketdwelling.com. They make a super cute door hanger. I've done a lot of neighborhoods that way and put my card in it. I have different business cards that I use. One for luxury and lake. One for everything else. I've also ordered like inexpensive cards that are in a rectangle that fit that better. So I'm kind of picky on who gets my really nice card, So you can save money that way too. Not all,
Yeah. So if I was a brand new agent today, I have no buyers and no sellers right here at this moment, and I got $100. What would you
Man,
tell me to spend
okay.
it on?
I would do everything free you can, which is social media, and in social media, Facebook groups. Brianna does a great. Did you say it Brianna or Brianna?
Brianna.
Brianna
Yeah.
does a great job. I'm Dana with an I, so I
Yeah.
just want to be sure I'm saying your name right. I would get in different groups. She always responds so quickly.
Yeah.
I take note of
Yeah.
that. Create your own. I have a nephew that's new to the business that works at another Keller Williams. He's just started his own Facebook group that is all free, and he just put a buyer under contract
Oh,
30 days
cool.
after being
I've
an
seen
agent.
his videos on
Yeah,
there. He's
so
doing good.
I would really go with that. If I only had $100, I would keep it in my pocket, and I would door knock, and I would do all the free things that you could do. I would call people. I would get on the phone and call my sphere of influence and
Yeah.
do those kind of things.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up because I think a lot of times agents get started in this, and like I had somebody reach out and was like, "How do Zillow leads work? How do I start paying for those?" And I'm like,
Don't.
That's not anything we need to start with on there because you guys all have so many people that you already know that like you, trust you, and according to NAR, statistically, about 6% of your database should be looking to do something real estate wise within the next year. So if you got 100 people, there's 6 of them in there that either they're going to do something or they know somebody who's going to do something.
Right.
Your job is to dig through and find who those 6 people are that's in there. So it doesn't have to be a big production, especially those of you that are just starting out. Y'all know I always say keep your costs as low as humanly possible because until we start seeing some revenue coming in, you're running a business. We want to make sure that we're financially sound and that we're putting the dollars in the right places on all that.
100%. And save for your taxes.
Yes.
Made that mistake before too.
Oh, that's always fun.
Or just had to come up with some extra at the end, so be sure to save for that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us about kind of like what's recently been like the biggest learning experience for you because we all know there's always something new to learn in this
Yeah.
business
Oh my
every
gosh,
single
there's
day.
literally something all the time.
What's something recent for you that you're like, man, this was a new one? And how many years have you been in this again?
How old am I? 23 years.
Okay, 23 years in.
Yeah.
Dana,
yeah.
there's still new stuff every day.
Yeah, there
ain't
is
they?
still
So-
new stuff every day. And I would say one, a listing that I was just talking about when I walked in the room that is going kind of crazy and it's even just a coming soon. I learned something that I went up against 5 agents. I felt like a little bit like, I didn't know if I would get the listing or not. I felt unsure. I felt like we had a good connection and that I said a lot of good things. But when they chose me to represent their family, they said the reason they chose me was I came for a plan. I came with a plan for their house. Now, the truth of that is I didn't. And about mid-conversation, I was like, you know what? I know that this house down the street had a system that worked. And their system was they priced the house low. they accepted sealed bids for X number of days, and then they chose the one who would be awarded the contract and buy the house. And I don't know if this is true or not, but rumor has it that doing that, the winner bid $1 million over. Again, could totally be hearsay. I'm not sure. But I told that story in the listing presentation, and I said, we need to mimic that. And they said, you're the only person that has had a plan or a thought, not just a generalization. So I don't know. That's something I'm like, now when I go to every listing, I'm like, oh man, well, I need a plan to make them feel like this is just for their house. That's like $0. That's just thought ahead of time.
Yeah.
So that's something that I learned that I really hadn't been thinking about or doing, is specifically, I take a marketing plan always. I have a great listing presentation, I think. But just taking the time to make some notes specifically about that house and how, things we can add that will work.
Yeah. So, and listing presentations are a conversation we're going to get into a couple weeks into this course on there. But what would you say are some of like the key things that you feel like are the most important aspects, or the things that get the most feedback from sellers with your listing presentation particularly? Like, is there anything
Yeah.
different where you're like, I started doing this and that's when I really started closing them?
Let me think. I start out with, I talk about their needs and communication, and how they like to communicate, how we're going to communicate. It's you guys all know that a lot of real estate agents don't communicate. They take the listing. I love an expired listing. If I go after a lot of expired listings because I love to be number 2, because I'm confident in the fact that I will be better and that I will definitely communicate better than who they just had. And I just had that conversation. I just left. A lady signed a listing agreement. Like, she was like, not going to let me leave. I was like, I'll pick it up. She was like, no, I want to do it while you're right here. It's like, because what the conversation we had was what she was looking for, right? And so that was communication. And so go over how you're going to communicate with people and figure out how they like to communicate best and make note of that. Talk about what your follow-up plan looks like. And set the expectation. You're not going to hear from every person who shows that house within 24 hours. So I tell people, give me 48 hours, and if I have to hound them down, I will. They want to hear that you're working hard for them and what you're doing and how you're aggressively going to be going after getting that feedback, because it's important to them. So go over that. I would say the other thing is I include testimonials. I feel like that just gives it, like, these people, I've worked with these people. If I didn't have testimonials, I'd come up with some from your mom or dad or somebody saying something good about you.
I was about to say,
I have,
people that you've worked with in past
exactly,
jobs.
Past jobs. You
anything.
can come up with something.
Right.
So include some testimonials until you have, large, a 20-year career or whatever, or a great year to lean on or whatever. Lean on our company. If you're targeting expired listings, a local company, I often target local company expired listings because I know I can get that, right? Because our stats here are so great that when you come in with that, they can't believe all that Keller Williams offers. That works out well, leaning on our company and all we offer. If you are not using Chartmasters, you better up your game and get into it. That is what is closing my deals, is using
Really?
Chartmaster.
Okay, awesome.
When you come in with that data and those numbers and it's printed out and it looks so good, nobody else is doing that.
No.
That is a gem, and I will just say not enough people in our company. I'm beating other people in our company because I know how to use it. So take that training, bring the knowledge. Don't be scared of numbers. For so long, I let that be a limiting belief for me, that, like, I just don't do numbers. I don't understand numbers. I don't like numbers. I even tell people all the time, I married a numbers guy because my husband's a CPA, and all that is true. But in the last 2 years, and especially since Chartmasters, by embracing that and learning something new, I actually, as an agent, feel more confident, and I can tell that the person that I'm sitting with and that they're giving me their home. I mean, I take it heavy, that they know that I know what I'm talking about and I'm going to get the deal done. And Chartmasters is a huge help.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to recap on what Chartmasters
Yeah.
is, Basically, it's a program that goes through the MLS data and they kind of scrub it for us. So anything that's off, any of the outliers, they kind of get all that cleaned up for us and put it together in a format where it's not just an MLS spreadsheet that we're pulling off. It's an actual graphic that you can take that's easy for anybody who may have never bought a house, never sold a house before. They could look at that and say, okay, I understand what you're talking about from how these numbers are laid out. So typically it's around the 7th of every month when that's published for us. I know Patricia always sends out an email to you guys letting you know when those stats are out, but it's a really good resource. And I think we have a class coming up in February, if I remember correctly. It could be at the end of this
Well,
month.
you'll see me in it
that's on
because
Chart
I've taken it
Masters.
twice now, and I'll continue to take it. It's making that big of a difference in my. And there's so much to it, you guys. You will need to take it 2, 3, 4 times because it's like there's a quarterly breakdown. Anyway, there's just so much, and it's so valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Good deal. So tell us about your favorite transaction that you've had, either in your career recently, one where you were just like walking out and you were like, man, that was real good.
Okay, so I was thinking the other day, I don't know if this is my favorite one, but this is like one that's been on my mind. Okay, so a lady called me. She had a lot to sell in Harbor Point. And but she lived in a townhome and in Sterling on the Lake. So I go there and we meet, and she is precious, and I love her style. And she's like that. What do they call it? Like coastal grandma vibe, like original. You know what I'm saying? This is probably like maybe this is like 4 or 5 years ago. And so she picks me. We list the lot. We sell the lot. She doesn't text. She doesn't do anything. I call her for everything. I drive every document to her house, all the things. I'm giving her really good customer service. And I'm like falling in love with this lady. Like, she's precious. She has children, but they're all out of state. And so I drive her to the closing. And after the closing, I'm going to probably cry. I'm emotional. That's just all there is to it.
That's okay. We all are.
She asked me in her house, and she says, "What size shoe do you wear?" And I tell her. And she gives me a box of designer shoes. And I don't know that there are many times that I've got a more precious gift. Some of them, the soles were rubbed. Some of them were like brand new. But she says, I don't have a lot of money. She just obviously paid me a commission. I'm like, we're good.
Yeah.
She's like, but I loved these shoes, and I could tell you would too. And they were my size. And that is like a transaction I love because, I made an impact on her, and she made an impact on me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was like $100 and something thousand lot. My biggest sale is like a $4 million home, but that $100 and something thousand lot, like sometimes those are the ones that get your heart the most. I've definitely helped people sell homes for medical reasons. I've done a lot of divorce homes, which I can definitely relate to in my life. I've sat with people that had to bring money to the closing table. Residential real estate is emotional, and I guess I'm emotional too, so we connect, right? So
yeah, I love that.
But that's one of my favorites.
I love that. And it's so true because, and I've said it to pretty much all you guys, this work that we do is typically like the biggest decision, the biggest financial decision, the biggest family decision that these people are coming into. So it's not something that we take lightly on there for it. Like, we're not just transactional. It's not just walk in, sign a contract, off to the races. I mean, it's loved ones' homes that have passed away that we're dealing with. It's those messy divorce situations sometimes. I mean, we never know what the situation is. And that's why a lot of times you'll hear real estate agents are basically therapists along with all of it. Because sometimes we'll meet with clients and we don't even talk about the house. That don't even come up in the conversation. It's just like, hey, let's just talk about you and what you're going through. What can we do to help with that situation?
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask the flip side of that question now. Tell us about the worst transaction you've ever had.
Okay,
give us all the dirty details,
Man,
Dana.
I've had some tough ones. The worst ones are the ones where you give and give. You give of your money, you give of your time. I've made $0 on a closing before because I messed up and made it right. If you know what I'm saying? Like, it was on inspection items. But I had one 2 years ago, and though I helped her in every way, she was so ugly. Nothing I could do was good enough. My communication wasn't good enough. All these things were bad, bad, bad. And I'm like, I read energy, I feel energy, I'm about, and this was messing my energy up, right, with her negativity. And what I learned from that transaction was that wasn't about me. That was about her. And from then forward, I've kind of used that and just tried to continue to meet people with kindness. But just know that there are some people that you're going to, even though I paid for like her whole house to be radon mitigated and the squirrels out of the attic and all the things, reduced my compensation. Nothing was going to make her happy. That's one of the worst ones I've had in a while. She didn't even want to be in the closing room with the buyer. She wanted to close totally separate. It was not fun. So that's one of the worst ones I've had in a while. Yeah. I didn't ask for a review. And I was hoping, no, I did a good job. I was like, oh, I'm ready. If she writes something negative, I'm going to be in there responding.
Yeah, she's ready to roll.
That's
on
right.
It. Yeah.
That's right.
Not all of them are going to be walks in the park.
They're not.
And there's sometimes when, like Dan just said, we go above and beyond. We check all the boxes, do all the things. And there's some people that just aren't going to be satisfied with stuff.
right.
And yet, we can't always take that personally.
Right.
And so the thing that I coach a lot of you guys on is like, if you can walk out of it and say, I did the best that I could, and I know that I did the best that I could, we're good. But you're going to have some kind of craziness that happens in there.
Yes.
What's the craziest one you've ever
Oh,
had,
man.
Dana?
Gosh.
We talked about the worst
I'm a
one.
smidge
Tell us
brain
about the
fried.
cray
Okay, let
on
me
there.
think.
I know,
Let me
I'm quizzing
think.
you on
I
like all your
know.
life, basically,
Let's
in the last
see,
30
the
minutes.
craziest one. Oh, I sold the house of a Playboy bunny one time, and she left a lot of photos, what turned out to be the children's bedroom. The agent had to bring the box of photos to me. She was in 1970s. I'm just going to leave it at that, Playboy bunny. And I had to get up with her and give her those photos back. That was pretty crazy. Yeah.
Lord.
Yeah, that was memorable.
Well,
That's
you
what
never know what
came
you're going to
mind.
see
I
in
don't
some
know.
of these houses,
You don't. I should have known when we drove in the house. She had this statue on she lived it was not a main road, but it was the road off of a main road. And she had this statue, and when you pulled up to it, it had a leopard print bra on the on the concrete statue. So I should have known we were in for a good time, but
Lord.
yeah.
Lord. One of the craziest ones that we've seen recently on there, it was somebody in our office, I ain't going to say who it was on there, but he took a listing, and apparently they had like a trapeze bar in the bedroom that they decided not to take down for the showings and everything. So you never know what you're going to see in some of these places when you get out there. I'm just saying.
I have shown houses that had very unmentionable things that should have been in their nightstand. Yes, you just don't know what you're going to see. It's a new adventure every day.
Oh, Lord. You got that right. So why do you do real estate still, Dana?
Oh, gosh. My friend said to me at an event last night, she said, I thought you were going to slow down. And every time I think I will, I just know that's God wants me to keep helping people. He wants me to keep working. He wants me to keep sharing. And so I know that is the reason I keep doing it. There's been many reasons along the years that I've been an agent. Most of them have included money, but after 20 some odd years and I'm not in that position that I'm working to make sure, I am working for goals, retirement, put my kids through college. Don't get me wrong. But the main reason I don't slow down and I'm continuing to just, grow in different things is because I just feel like that's what I'm supposed to be doing. And that's my calling, is to help those people in that way and share knowledge now with, other people who are coming into this business.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. You do such a good job.
Oh,
of it too,
gosh.
Dana.
Well, thank you.
You do, absolutely. Anything else that you feel like is important to share? Wisdom you pass on to the up and coming generation in here?
I would say just don't give up and find what's unique and special to you. I love Adrian at our ALC meeting, and I can't recall the name of the company, but he had a coach came
From the locker
on.
room?
Yes,
Yep.
the locker room. And he said something, and man, I loved it. It was basically like, we always hear going outside of your comfort zone, and I do think there's a time for that. Is how you're really going to get it, how you're really going to, just break through, is getting out of your comfort zone. And this gentleman challenged us to think, is it? And like I said, I do think there are times you need to get out of your comfort zone, but maybe think about your strengths and play on that. And I do think, looking back, without knowing it, that's what I did. You know, connecting with people, having relationships with people, a positive attitude, giving good energy, and stinking working my tail off, and long hours, early mornings, late nights, grinding when I didn't want to be grinding when I was younger, and now still, but doing those things has what has built my career. So I would just say, you know, lean into what you're good at, what you can share with others. Don't compare yourself to other people, and build your business on you.
Okay. I love that. I mean, all of it's true. It's,
Yeah.
it's like we always say, whatever you're going to put into it is what you're going to get out of
That's
it
right.
on there. So if you're going to sit there and wait for a Wizard of Oz moment where the house comes falling from the sky, you may be sitting there for a hot
That's
minute on there.
right.
But if you're willing to head on down the yellow brick road and see what happens, you might be able to come up on something
That's
a lot,
right.
lot quicker on there.